Well, in life, you're bound to encounter some toxic relationships. And tonight's UnPHILtered, I spoke with author TJ Woodward, who has written a book about the subject. He says removing toxicity isn't about changing those around you. He claims that the road to healing comes from inside. Hey, TJ, I really appreciate you taking some time. You know, during my research, I noticed that a big part of what you talk about and write about is toxic relationships. So I want to focus on that tonight. And one of the things that you talk about, and I tend to agree, is that toxicity starts within, right? What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is usually when we hear people talking about removing toxic work environments, changing toxic relationships, we tend to hear people talking about something outside of ourselves. This person is toxic for me, and if I could just get rid of this relationship, then I could be free or happy. And what I'm inviting us to look at is that toxicity actually is something that happens from within. And we have this idea about ourselves as being broken in some way, and then we choose relationships, usually unconsciously, to support that toxicity.
Do you get any pushback when you talk about that?
A little bit, right? Because I've actually had someone say, well, it sounds like you're victim blaming or victim shaming. I'm actually saying let's empower each of us to recognize that the only person we can actually change is ourselves. I think it's a destination addiction to say, once this person does this, I will be free. Once I get that, I can be happy. We're actually asking ourselves to look within and ask what needs to be healed within before actually trying to fix the relationship. So it's actually empowering the individual rather than blaming.
I tend to agree. Like I said, easier said than done, though, no?
Yeah, I think it's a process, right? I actually had someone recently ask me, well, isn't it hard work? And what I'll say is it's actually harder work continuing to choose relationships that seem destructive, unfulfilling, work situations that aren't actually satisfying. So it might take a little bit of work to heal these deep core wounds or core false beliefs, as I call them. But in the long run, it actually brings greater freedom and makes life much easier.
What do you recommend for folks who actually agree with you and do want to work on themselves?
Well, I think it starts with looking at what are those core false beliefs we've developed about ourselves. Most of us come into this world, or all of us come into this world as a whole and perfect being, and then we get programmed to believe we're broken in some way. A lot of this is unconscious. So a wise person once said there are 3 steps: awareness, awareness, and awareness.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So I noticed you've written a couple of books. You're actually from Indiana, right? So give us a little bit more information on your background and how you got into this line of work.
Yeah, I did grow up in Indiana, and it was a wonderful experience in so many ways. And my early life was filled with a lot of happiness and joy. And then it wasn't. And it wasn't in a lot of different ways, things happening in the world, violence happening in the world. I remember the first time I saw war on TV, and I remember having a sensation of closing my heart and protecting myself. And I developed some core false beliefs. I'm not worthy and I'm not lovable. And those haunted me well into my adult life until I realized that I could actually go back and heal and change those core false beliefs and those conclusions I made about myself and the world. And then the relationships started to heal themselves rather than me thinking I had to fix something that seemed broken.
All right. So let's say you're somebody out there who says, all right, I've done some of the work, but it's really hard for me to continue to heal or fix myself. What do you recommend on a daily basis? Maybe some tricks to help folks.
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that there's a place within us that is unharmed and unharmable. Many of us feel broken. And if we have this idea that we're broken or the world is broken, it does seem like a lot of work. Getting in touch with that part of ourselves that came into this world as a whole and perfect being, and realizing that we're returning to that rather than trying to achieve something, I think is an important first step.
About a minute left. You tell the folks at home how they can learn more about you, maybe read your books, find out some more information.
Oh, yeah. tjwoodward.com. You'll find out about my books there. And really, my message is profoundly simple, and that is you did come into this world as a whole and perfect being. If you're anything like me and most people I know, you've developed some core false beliefs. And what I want to say is healing is possible, and we can return to that place of inner wholeness and innocence.
TJ, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on with us. Hopefully we can do this again in the near future.
I would love that. Thank you so much. It's been an honor.